Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm also interested in what you just said now, is that you would stand next to anyone who has this. So, Mr. Shapiro, my question to you is, for Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages that target African-American young students, would you consider that hate speech?
Everyone.
And then would you—
Welcome back to Congress Flash. Today we break down what just happened in Congress might be one of the most intense face-offs on free speech and identity politics we've seen in years. Ben Shapiro was directly confronted by Representative Stacey Plaskett over white privilege, hate speech, and whether America is still a place where truth can be debated or just dictated. This wasn't a friendly policy chat. It was a full-on ideological showdown. Let's break down powerful moments from this exchange and why they matter more now than ever. Stick around. This is about way more than politics. It's about who we are as a country. First up, the confrontation. Representative Stacey Plaskett opened the hearing by directly challenging Ben Shapiro on the concept of white privilege.
It's interesting, Mr. Shapiro, you talked about white privilege. And just this week, I had a conversation with Rachel Lazar, who's done some work, a Jewish American woman who's done some work on this area, as well as having extensive conversations with Dr. Greg Parks of Wake Forest University, who's also talked quite a bit about critical race theory. And it's my understanding that white privilege is not telling individuals that they cannot speak, but it is a term for societal privilege that individuals have as a benefit of their white skin. And I don't think that, and I think universities would be remiss to then say that because you're white, you're not allowed to say anything that's critical of white people. I didn't know that white privilege actually went into that sphere. My understanding is it's just, and the issue is that white privilege makes people uncomfortable to talk about the societal privilege that they have.
Well, to me, what I say on campuses all the time is, if you want to cite instances of racism that we can all find and fight together, that's something that I'm more than willing to stand next to you and fight, because that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm also interested in what you just said now, is that you would stand next to anyone who has this. So, Mr. Shapiro, my question to you is, for Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages that target African-American young students, would you consider that hate speech, and then would you stand next to her and fight for her?
As I say, I would. This is the first I'm hearing about it, honestly. But
really,
but from hearing about it, maybe because it's local. I mean, I'm from LA. But in any case, I'm more than happy to stand alongside her and fight whatever group was responsible for this. Not only more than happy. I mean, you're talking about the alt-right. Again, I was the #1 target of anti-Semitic harassment from the alt-right last year. So I'm more than happy to do all that. And I think there's one more distinction that has to be made. When we talk about cases like Taylor's, they're horrific, and the administration is siding with Taylor. Okay, the administration is doing the right thing by Taylor, or trying to do the right thing by Taylor, as they should be. And I think that we need to make a distinction between cases where the administration is actively participating in the suppression of speech and cases in which the administration is trying to do the right thing in order to punish people for application of
her argument. White privilege is real, backed by demographics, and denying it is part of the problem. Shapiro didn't dodge. He pushed back hard, arguing that white privilege, as commonly framed, doesn't open dialogue. It shuts it down, and that set the tone for everything that followed. This wasn't just about race. It was about the future of discourse. Shapiro made one thing crystal clear: racism is real and must be fought. but he drew a bold line between opposing racism and embracing identity politics. He argued that telling someone their opinion doesn't matter because of their skin color isn't justice, it's intellectual laziness. And here's where things really hit home. He said this ideology isn't sparking conversations, it's ending them. Before we go further, if you care about honest conversations, about protecting free speech and pushing back on ideological echo chambers, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover stories like this every week. Then came the moment that stopped everyone cold. Plaskett brought up a specific hate incident. Someone had tied a noose and left racist messages targeting black students on a campus. She asked, would Shapiro stand with that student? His response? Absolutely, no hesitation. He hadn't heard about the incident but condemned it outright and said he'd stand not just for her, but with her. He made it personal, pointing out that he himself was the #1 target of anti-Semitic attacks from the alt-right. Hate, he said, doesn't come from one side. It has no political home. And when it appears, we should all be on the same side. Against it. Here's where things escalated even further. Shapiro warned that institutions, universities especially, are now enforcing ideological conformity. Free speech isn't just under debate, it's under attack. He drew a sharp line between fighting hate and weaponizing justice to silence people. That's not progress, he argued. That's censorship disguised as morality. And maybe the most chilling part? He said this trend flips the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. on its head. Instead of judging people by character, we're being told to see everything through the lens of race. So, what does all of this mean? This wasn't just a fiery hearing. It was a wake-up call. You have a choice. Accept a worldview that tells you what to think and who gets to speak, or stand up for liberty, for open debate, and for truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. If you believe in free speech, reason over rhetoric, and unity over division, don't just watch. Join this movement. Subscribe, like, and share this video. The algorithm doesn't push truth, it pushes outrage. Let's change that. Thanks for watching. Stay loud, stay principled, stay free.